Television fiction has given us all kinds of villains. Although we can't say that Doña Florinda from El Chavo del Ocho was conceived as a villainous character, it's true that her arrogant, disdainful, and bad-tempered personality made her infamous for being unpleasant and not very well liked by the show's fans. However, more than Doña Florinda, the one who truly became a real-life villain was the actress who played her. We're talking, of course, about Florinda Mesa, the 76-year-old woman at the time this was made. The video is central to the debate following the release of the series Chespirito, without wanting to. The production, made by the children of Gómez Bolaños, aims to tell their story behind the scenes, after the creation of a television icon that broke records worldwide and changed Spanish-speaking comedy. Thus, as certain aspects of the past resurfaced, old accusations were rekindled. Especially because many see Florinda Mesa as the ultimate reason why the supposedly nice neighborhood ended up turning into a living hell. Not to mention that our harshest critics label her as manipulative, a homewrecker, and a tyrant. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Florinda Mesa's relationship with the series that made her famous is as complex as the relationship she had with Gómez Bolaños and his closest circle. Are we looking at an honest love story, with the usual setbacks of any celebrity couple? Or were there always hidden interests in that relationship? What were Florinda Mesa's years like before she met Chespirito? Why do people say that the woman is also to blame for other members of the show ending their marriages? Is it true that for a while, Gómez Bolaños wanted to get back with his ex-wife and distance himself from Mesa? And speaking of that, who was that ex-wife of Gómez Bolaños and how much did she have to do with Chespirito's meteoric rise? Why did Bolaños' children never accept Florinda Mesa? Did the actress mistreat the creator of El Chavo in his final days? Is it true that she put out cigarettes on his armpits? To try to answer this and other questions, let's look into the details of one of the most controversial romances in Mexican show business. I invite you to join me all the way back to November 2004, the day Roberto Gómez Bolaños married Florinda Mesa. Before we continue, note that we've already made another video discussing the controversies among the cast of El Chavo del Ocho. You can watch that report here on this channel. The idea of this video is to focus on the relationship between Florinda Mesa and Chespirito. If you like curiosities about El Chavo, we can make another report. Speaking of the day Chespirito supported the Latin dictatorships, if you want it, you can comment Chespirito. If there are more than 2,000 people commenting that and this video gets over 5,000 likes, we'll do it. Let's begin. Florinda Mesa is highly active online. She frequently posts lengthy videos on her official page, engaging with Chavo's followers. She often thanks people for the affection many show to her late husband. And she also takes the opportunity to deny what she considers to be harmful rumors that only seek to hurt her, for those who want to listen to her. Florinda Mesa presents herself as the victim of a campaign that for years has made her a scapegoat, to justify the darker and less friendly side of a show that many people have idealized. On that same page, the woman has a section labeled Biography. There she says that she is an actress, screenwriter, producer, camera and stage director, and soprano, coloratura, with 20 years of music study. She mentions that she was born in 1949, but doesn't add much more about her childhood and early years. Let's try to fill in those gaps. Florinda Mesa was born on February 8th of the aforementioned year in Juchipila, a town in the Mexican state of Zacatecas, where today there is a sculpture in her honor. One version of the story says that she was very young when her parents separated, and that from then on she was raised by her grandparents. A second version says that her father abandoned her and that her mother was a woman with a strong character and a hostile temperament. She was the one who taught her from a young age that life would always find a way to test her. One way or another, it's clear that her childhood was not easy. And although she was not lacking in affection, she quickly sought refuge in art. With a restless spirit, the girl began to pay more and more attention. As the adults talked about television, that fascinating device that was increasingly making its way into every home. The stories that the first series and movies offered left a mark on Florinda, helping her cope with the loneliness of her days. With a vast and colorful inner world, an imagined universe where she lived great adventures or explored passionate romances, her desire to be part of that world grew so much and so strong that it didn't take long for her to decide on a career as an actress. This conviction, in turn, helped her focus during a particularly painful moment in her adolescence, the death of her grandparents. Just as her mother had warned her, life was not easy and tragedy seemed to be just around the corner. Knowing this, the young woman stepped on the accelerator and set out to pursue her dream without hesitation. With this plan, she moved to Guadalajara to study theater and act in local plays, eventually settling in Mexico City. In search of better opportunities, it wasn't an easy path. Florinda went to castings, auditioned for commercials, and worked as a model. Meanwhile, she saved money by doing occasional jobs as a secretary and announcer, even replacing María Antonieta de las Nieves as the voice of the station. Televisión Independiente de México. In 1968, she managed to become part of a cast for Telesistema Mexicanos video theaters, and in 1970 she joined the comedy show La Media Naranja. She felt she was on the right path, but she was missing what is known as a stroke of luck. A stroke that would come just a year later, when Mesa would be selected to join the cast of a show that had already been on the air for over a year with extremely high audience ratings. A show that would serve as a direct prelude to El Chavo del Ocho, and that would put her in contact with someone who was already considered an undisputed genius. Roberto Gómez Bolaños. By that time, Roberto Bolaños was at the peak of his career. He had earned the respect of his colleagues, approval of his superiors, and affection of the critics. Those above him saw him as an artist capable of creating stories that were as clever as they were profitable. And little by little, they gave him complete control over his projects. Bolaños basically had the green light to do whatever he wanted, and he wasn't going to waste his opportunity. He had worked very hard to get there, but not everything was thanks to his unbreakable will. By the time the big shots finally set their eyes on his talent, Roberto Gómez Bolaños shared his life with Graciela Fernández Pierre. The couple had met when she was just 15 years old and he was 22. They got married in 1969. It was a long courtship, but the marriage resulted in a large family, 6 children, and an intense domestic life, which most of the time revolved around the uncontrollable ambitions of Roberto. But Graciela was not just the wife of the most beloved comedian of the moment. According to the testimonies of close family members, she was also a pillar in her husband's career. Something that for a long time was considered part of the legend of Chapulín Colorado. It is the fact that supposedly it was Graciela who made the original costume of the superhero created by Bolaños. And not only that, it is also said that she was the publicist behind the establishment of Chespirito as a registered trademark. That was just the beginning. Over time, Florinda Mesa stopped having a purely acting role and began to take on other crucial roles related to production, the artistic direction, and the scripts of the show. However, no one believes she could have climbed up. Was it because of the clarity of her ideas or her intellectual ability, or was it because she developed an increasingly intimate relationship with her boss? Yes, Gómez Bolaños himself. Although the beginning of their relationship doesn't have a date that everyone agrees on, the most widely accepted idea is that this bond was established between 1976 and 1979. Precisely the period when the show was a success beyond the borders of the continent. But Florinda Mesa herself has stated that it all began much earlier. It's important to know that Roberto Gómez Bolaños was not only famous for being able to turn everything he touched into gold, he was also known for being a womanizer. In fact, he had undergone a vasectomy so that his adventures wouldn't have any unwanted consequences. This likely occurred in the mid-1970s. The man persistently pursued Florinda Mesa, sending her flowers, letters, and various gifts. With what purpose? To win her over? According to the actress, Chespirito, who was 20 years older than her, would sigh when he saw her, and was moved just by her presence. Mesa said in more than one interview that during those first encounters, she had been very clear with every attempt by Gómez Bolaños to seduce her. She would have told him that he needed to remember he was married, that if he was a married man, he couldn't do what he was doing. Always, according to the actress, not only did he not give up, but he renewed his efforts with every new rejection. With a look full of sadness, he told her that even though he had a wife and children, he felt empty. Things went on like this until one day Florinda Mesa decided that she wanted to give a chance to that man who made her laugh so much and with whom she spent so many hours of her day. One of the most repeated versions is the one that says that while they were in Santiago de Chile on a work tour, they kissed for the first time. This was the kickoff to a relationship that would last for several decades and would be surrounded by controversies. Meanwhile, the breakup between Roberto and Graciela was long and never really had a definitive ending. In fact, the conflict wasn't just with his ex-wife, but also with his children, who never hesitated to take their mother's side. One point that's rarely mentioned is that, according to one of the couple's children, a regretful Chespirito tried to get back together with Graciela even when he was already in a relationship with Florinda Mesa. The fact that Roberto Gómez Bolaños wanted to get back together with the mother of his children contradicts the public image of a perfect couple that Mesa has tried to maintain for years. And if that's a lie, what other things were lies too? What is beyond doubt is that Florinda Mesa was never able to form a close bond with her stepchildren. In fact, she was far from doing so or even trying, to be honest. It's true that in different interviews she claimed to have met and respected Graciela Fernandez, and even hesitated to get romantically involved with Roberto, for that reason. It's equally true that her relationship with the comedian's children was marked by her rather harsh, frivolous, and uncooperative statements. For example, there's a viral clip in which, with a careless and persistent lack of tact, Mesa refers to the situation from those years, pointing out that Roberto had, and I quote, 7 major flaws, namely his wife and his 6 children. He
had 7 major flaws, 6 children and a wife.
No.
As flaws.
Of course.
6 wonderful children, how could anyone?
If they were mine, they would be wonderful. If they were mine, they would be wonderful anyway. But since they weren't mine, they were a problem and they were a flaw.
This caused a scandal at the time, and it's causing one again now. Because of things like this, the attacks on the actress have intensified in recent weeks. Unable to turn a deaf ear, the woman stated that all of this is affecting her health, and she preferred to disable comments on some of her social media accounts. Less well known, but just as unfortunate, was the time when Mesa claimed that it was lucky that she and Chespirito had not had a child. The reason? According to her, the man would have been unable to hide that having a child with her would mean much more to him than the rest of his children.
Children are loved through their mother.
And that a child of mine loving me as he did would be his adoration and something he couldn't bear.
One with the weight of guilt for loving the others less, and another, if there were conflict between the half-siblings, he couldn't stand for them to hurt or attack the supposed bastard that would be.
His adoration.
But the relationship between Mesa and Gómez Bolaños was not just an excuse for unhappy details of their private lives to come to light. The relationship would have been the reason why El Chavo del Ocho ended with much of the cast at odds with each other. Apparently, it was not easy for Florinda Mesa's colleagues to accept that she now had a position of greater power in the project. They liked even less the fact that this position of power made her, according to many of them, a despotic and capricious person. Apparently, Florinda Mesa had no qualms about giving increasingly minor roles to those she didn't like. In the same way, she rewarded those who were useful or helpful to her. In this way, a work group that in the early years had been characterized by great human commitment soon developed a dynamic based on fear and discomfort. Mesa always boasted about having helped keep Chavo relevant, contributing ideas that on more than one occasion helped give the show a new twist. She's convinced that El Chavo del Ocho collapsed under its own weight. Because of the natural wear and tear over time, because some of the actors were already too old, and because of the shift in the comedy paradigm in the world of entertainment. Those who choose to see her as a woman who doesn't lie believe that it was always easier to point to a culprit than to admit that the formula for success had run out for that show, that it had been squeezed dry. Those who perceive some malice in Mesa's actions point out that, to give a simple example, so, hilaole singentala si She was blamed for Ramon Valdez leaving the show for several seasons after accusing him of being an addict. In the same way, it was said that she influenced Gómez Bolaños to wage an all-out war over the rights to the characters of La Chilindrina and Kiko. All these actions would have destroyed the camaraderie and trust that existed between the parties. Perhaps because of these conflicts, Carlos Villagrán, who played her son in the show, decided to speak out in 2011 that he and Florinda Mesa had a more than problematic romance. According to the actor, she had become obsessed with him long before she started dating Chespirito. It was not a very healthy love. She was harassing him, and he just wanted to move on with his life. Apparently, Roberto Gómez Bolaños himself had advised Villagrán to stay away from the woman to avoid problems. Did he do it because he already intended to win her over, or because at first he really saw her as a possible source of conflict?
Did you go out with Doña Florinda? No, Doña Florinda didn't go out with me. I went out with Doña Florinda. That's different. Or didn't you believe me? They laughed, but I let it go. I had to get her off my back because I just had to get her off my back. So I spoke with Roberto Gómez about the Bolaños years. I told him, look, I've already told her several times that we should end it, he says. Tell her you're leaving the relationship. The day I did this, I felt free. Air really does exist outside of a stifling relationship. He was harassing me with my mom, and I went and told him, no, I don't want anything with you. He became upset and had a fit. He said goodbye, approached me, and told me to stand my ground. Many people commented that Roberto Gómez Bolaños was mistreated by Doña Florinda. She would hit him, not let him speak, and he had difficulty hearing.
Florinda Mesa spent years without commenting on this rumor, until in an interview in 2025 she revealed that she would never have been interested in someone like Villagrán.
Because of you, people got fired, Kiko got fired.
It's not
True, because
you had been with Kiko.
Roberto, he said, and there are the interviews. You can look them up on the internet.
Carlos left because they offered him something better, but you were with him.
I'm not going to talk about that.
One of two.
Mainly. Did you know Roberto Claro, a very intelligent man?
Very.
I conducted some great interviews with him.
We cared about each other a lot.
Do you picture me?
That's why I don't want to talk. It's your fault. She rarely talked about her relationship with the director of El Chavo del Ocho, Enrique Segoviano, with whom she was supposedly even engaged. In the words of Villagrán and Cito, she wanted to cling to someone. What does this mean? That the table love for Gómez Bolaños? It was a meticulous move, executed to take everything from the very beginning. El Chavo del Ocho, a popular series in the 80s, concluded but remained on air for several years as a sketch. Around that time, Roberto Gómez Bolaños and Florinda Mesa were already seen as a pair for better or for worse. From 1979 to 1989, Mesa starred in 5 movies with the creation, production, and direction of her partner, El Chanfle 1 and 2, Don Ratón y Don Ratero, Charito, and Música de Viento. In 1981, the couple premiered a successful cabaret season at the now-closed Marrakech in Mexico City. In 1984, they brought to life the first Mexican musical comedy called Títere, in which Florinda Mesa is credited in several creative roles. In 1992, the woman produced and starred with Roberto in the play Once y Doce. It broke all existing records to date in Mexico, both in terms of its run and its number of performances and spectators. It had a long theater run once, including in the United States, Costa Rica, Peru, Colombia, and more. Florinda Mesa was a screenwriter and producer of her own projects, including the historical drama series Milagro y Magia and the telenovelas La Dueña and Alguna Vez, We Will Have Wings. These productions managed to attract a large number of viewers in Europe, positioning Mesa as a highly desirable leader for the company Televisa. However, as you can see, the actress managed to shine on her own merit. She was always described as the wife of Rótulo, which she sometimes carried with pride and other times as a bit of a burden. What was impossible for her was to avoid getting caught in the middle of new and dark accusations. When Gómez Bolaños began to show signs of deteriorating health, and that's how our story returns to the beginning. Florinda Mesa and Roberto Gómez Bolaños married in November 2004 after living together for decades. When the creator of Chavo del Ocho started to be seen in a wheelchair and with oxygen tubes, many began to talk about an imminent bad ending. Beyond his respiratory problems, Parkinson's was hostile to Chespirito, so in his last interviews he seemed somewhat subdued. But that didn't surprise his followers as much as another detail. It became common for Florinda Mesa to interrupt Gómez Bolaños and not let him speak when they went on tours or gave conferences. She later said she did it as part of their internal agreement. However, the general public was never very convinced. Are you nervous to speak?
Well, but your conference isn't until Saturday.
No, I already have it prepared. I don't remember which country it was in. He was interviewing Chespirito and she was answering. So he said, ma'am, please, how much spirit did he bring you?
About Marita, let's see, you were talking about the media. That's old news.
The incident was recorded. She had to be removed from the studio. I was summarizing it there.
Line. Ooh, I even made jingles, well, songs for commercials, music for commercials, the comedians of the world. Suppose that initially your film education influenced you.
It makes your spirit and everyone else feel bad, doesn't it?
Between the fat one and the skinny one?
Well, yes, the people from the movies. More from the movies than from television. Why isn't it from the people who make television?
It's no longer a comfortable, pleasant interview.
For most of El Chavo's fans, Mesa had taken total control of what Gómez Bolaños did, according to him. Basically, after years of leeching off him, he had ended up replacing him. Why wouldn't he let him express himself? Was he worried Chespirito might say something inappropriate? Or was it true that he was a bit lost and needed his help to answer? An entertainment journalist even said that Florinda Mesa had allegedly mistreated Gómez Bolaños when he was in his senior years. According to his statements, a source close to the actor's family had told him that when Florinda caught her husband smoking in secret, she would punish him. And how? By putting out the cigarettes on his armpits and groin so that their children wouldn't notice the wounds. This chilled the blood of many and cemented Florinda as the ultimate villain. By the time Gómez Bolaños died in 2014 at 85 years old, Florinda Mesa was not well regarded at all. Some even went so far as to say that she had falsified the writer and comedian's date of death in order to benefit from some celebrations that were broadcast live, cultivating juicy ratings. And that wasn't all. Another entertainment journalist said she obtained a terrible testimony in 2025. A testimony that would prove that Florinda Mesa was the one responsible for breaking up the marriages of some of her former colleagues. Reports say one of Carlos Villagran's sons, a disc jockey, allegedly spoke with journalist Manola Diaz at a party. She reportedly said that her father had also separated because of Florinda Mesa's influence. Apparently, when she was already in a relationship with Chespirito, the actress used to go to the Villagran family's house to ask to speak with her former castmate. Always appearing on the verge of a breakdown, she would ask Carlos for his partner to go for a walk so she could clear her thoughts. This likely occurred due to the ongoing fluctuations between Mesa and Gómez Bolaños at the time. Carlos would give in to the request to talk because, according to his son, Mesa made him feel a mix of fear and pity. The one who didn't feel either fear or pity was Villagran's wife, who at a certain point got tired of the situation and asked her husband for a divorce. Is this story true? So, was there an even deeper bond between Villagran and Mesa than either of them ever wanted to admit? Nevertheless, the accusations didn't stop there. Villagran's son also reportedly told Manola Diaz that Mesa was involved in the breakup of Ruben Aguirre's marriage. The actor who played Professor Girafales, and why? Because it's believed that he was also in love with her. Is there any basis for these accusations? Finally, dark truths are revealed. Or could it be that they're so eager to point fingers at Mesa that the fabrications no longer have any limits? Ultimately, is Mesa a victim or a perpetrator? In 2019, Florinda Mesa returned to the movies with the film Dulce Familia, a box office hit that can currently be seen on streaming platforms. On February 13th and 16th, 2020, She participated as a guest in the tribute for the 15-year career of the world-renowned tenor Javier Camarena at the Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City. She continues to make her statements on her previously mentioned official page. She says that she is accused of many falsehoods because someone discovered that rumors sell a lot of magazines and generate a lot of views. She believes she is at the center of a defamation campaign and considers it disrespectful. That she was never consulted about the series on Chespirito, even though she lived with him for more than 40 years. Do you think it's unfair that she's being accused without being able to give her side of the story? And she's sure that much of the hatred people have for her is because she's a woman in a business that's generally run by men. She believes her privacy should be respected and people should stop spreading lies about her. And she announced that she will release her own documentary, which will be titled Dare to Live. In it, she will seek to offer her own version of her personal and professional life, which strongly contrasts with the story presented in Sin Querer, Queriendo. Are we really looking at a woman who did everything to save herself? Is Mesa really as bad as everyone thinks? Is it fair to call her a homewrecker if it was Chespirito who chose to be with her? Is karma working against her, as some people say? Who is telling the truth in this story? And assuming that Florinda is as innocent as she claims, will she ever be able to change the way people see her? Lisa, and simply put, can a villain ever stop being one?